I don't really.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll mix them up and we'll choose randomly.
But whichever one I don't want, I'm going to get, so...
Right or left?
Right.
Right. You're playing the Tech Savant.
Damn it.
Then play the Dark Sorcerer. If you... I don't understand you.
I want to give the illusion of choice.
Pro tip. If anybody is ever waffling between two different choices and everything like that, flip a coin. Heads, you go with option A. Tails, you go with option B. If the option or the result that you get makes you go, okay, then clearly you didn't want that one. Go with the other option. You don't have to stick with the result of the coin flip. Just go with your gut, because that initial reaction of hesitation or happiness will tell you what the true choice, what the best choice should have been. Maybe lots of people already know that. I don't know. I only discovered that after marrying Sarah, so...
Well, same thing with food. If you can't decide what you want to eat, imagine eating the item, and then you'll be like, oh, that does sound good, or,
Not so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's pretty much foolproof. All right, change the background of the chat box.
Okay.
However, now I can't see anyone chatting.
It doesn't show you the text at all?
Well, not yet, but
Oh, hey, haha. I read that trick.
I used that trick when I worked as a waitress.
Oh,
right?
nice.
It's very useful.
It is.
All right. I just need to get the width better.
You should be able to just grab the...
I did, but you'll notice it's that red outline here,
and
it actually is not filling up that space. So I'm not sure why that is. So... It's like there's a max width constraint on there somewhere, but I don't know where.
Huh. But you should be able to just drag it over, like...
I did, that's the problem. See this?
Uh-huh.
It does not seem to have any effect.
That's weird.
Right? So...
Okay. Well, let's hang on to it. Let's leave it there for now, and we'll see what happens. Monster Mochi, thank you very much. I think that was Monster Mochi.
It was.
If it was, thank you very much for chatting with us and helping us test that out. Sorry for the hassle. But...
Ooh, Blackmaker is now hosting.
Ooh, hello, Blackmaker. Thank you. Now, we'll get to that in a second. So...
I'm going to try something here.
I say let's not worry about it so much. Let's focus more on doing the thing.
It does make it a little harder for us to see what people are chatting about, but we can...
We'll just pay extra close attention.
Yeah. Looks like there's a hard code in there for that size, so... At least I changed the background. Now we can actually see that someone has...
Yeah, I figured gray would be better. I didn't realize our font color was white.
Yeah.
So the black background is definitely better.
Fair enough.
So, as I was saying, we're going to do a quick rundown on the rules and how the game works. First thing we want to talk about is the villain deck. The villain deck is where you're going to be drawing all the cards in your hand, and they basically are going to act as all your resource cards. These are always consist of the following three kinds of cards: attack, defense, and power surges. Attack cards are fairly straightforward. This hero, the super soldier, has 5 health, as indicated by the little heart icon at the top. It might be hard for you to see, but just trust me. So if I, on my turn, decide to put 1 attack card on that hero, that is 1 damage out of his 5 health. Attack cards are persistent, which means they stick around from one turn to the next, until someone plays the last point of damage on that hero, or a card effect removes the attack cards. Basically healing that hero. Attack cards can also be used on certain obstacles. For instance, these reinforced doors, instead of having a heart icon, have this little box that tells you how many of what kind of card you need to destroy it. So these reinforced doors require 5 attack cards in order to get rid of them. So that's how attack cards get used. You never use them to attack other players because that just makes the game more focused on the competitive side. You're only using them to attack heroes, guards, and obstacles. Next, we've got defense cards. Defense cards can be used in a couple of different ways. One, they can be used to damage any obstacle that has the shield icon on them. For instance, watch me not be able to find one. There we go. These laser turrets have both an attack and a defense card in the little box, indicating that they can be hurt by either attack or defense. Sorry, there's a little glare on the card there. So, basically, for this obstacle, playing an attack or a defense card on this obstacle counts as 1 damage, basically representing that you are avoiding the obstacle and physically damaging it at the same time. More commonly, though, players will put a defense card in their defense space. So if you look on the player mat, you've got a defense space in the bottom left-hand corner. And that is basically going to be your protection whenever the heroes attack you. Because you basically are going to have a hand of 5 cards made up of cards from the villain deck. These are both your resource cards and your health. So whenever a hero attacks you, it's going to do that by making you discard cards from your hand. For example, the Super Soldier card that we've got out says that I have to discard 2 cards from my hand. So if I do that, then on my next turn, I've only got 3 cards to play. What I can do instead is if I've got a defense in my defense space, if this says discard 2 cards from my hand, I can discard 1 card from my defense space and then 1 from my hand, so I still have 4 for next turn. So defense cards are great for allowing us to basically keep our wits about us and be able to function on our following turn. It's not a player elimination game, so we never have to worry about getting knocked out. If we run out of cards in our hand, it just means we're temporarily stunned. We might be able to use our powers if we have any, and then we would draw back up to 5 at the end of that next turn, and we'd continue playing. Player elimination, for those of you who haven't listened to the episode 0 of our podcast, is very much against our design philosophy here. Player elimination is not terrible, it's just not our cup of tea. So finally, we've got Power Surges. Power Surges are the most rare and the most valuable card in the villain deck. You're going to use these to buy powers, as well as to activate powers and deal with certain obstacles. For instance, this Mystic Wards card is using the old, analog versions of the icons, but that's saying that it requires 5 Power Surges and or defense cards to destroy, so I could play that Power Surge on it. It would be considered 1 damage out of the 5. But, like I said, Power Surge is used to buy powers from the 2 power tracks, and I'll be putting those out here in a second. A level 1 power costs 2 Power Surges and or villain points. Now, villain points, I forgot to mention earlier, are the little green flag at the top of all the hero and guard cards. So, if you don't have 2 Power Surges, you can spend 2 villain points to buy powers, or any combination thereof. So you could do 1 Power Surge, 1 villain point, etc. So, try to make that as quick a rules rundown as I could. Hopefully didn't lose anybody there. But obviously, if you have questions, feel free to type them up in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, let's try to just get into it, shall we? It looks like the font issue has been fixed. Yes?
For now, I think I've done as best I can without actually shutting the whole cookie operation down, so I can play around with it and see what's going on.
Okay. No snacks in the play area. I know, sacrilege. Okay, so we already partially set up this setting for 1 to 2 players. We've got the 1 random hero and the 1 obstacle. So we're going to go ahead and give both of us 5 cards to start the game. And then we're going to set out the power cards. Now, in the normal base game, you just set out 3 power cards per power deck. And then you go from there. Do you need more space?
Well, no, you've taken up more than half. But that is okay because you're demonstrating. So I'm good, actually. I've got plenty of room.
Okay.
Although I'm making a lot of noise over here.
That's okay, so am I. All right, so powers. Like I was saying, in a normal base game, you've only got 30 power cards, or 33 power cards in each deck, which means if you start with 3 in play from each, you have a total of 30 cards, and that kind of acts as your timer. So if one of those decks runs out, you lose, which basically means you have 30 turns to win the game. Once you start adding expansion powers in, you run into the problem of increasing that timer and you remove that layer of difficulty. So, we're waffling back and forth between saying if you add in one expansion power, you have to remove another power. But that's a lot of like hemming and hawing. You have to make a decision between 11 different powers, and that gets kind of difficult.
It's a lot of extra management for the game as well.
So the other option is at the beginning of the game, for each expansion power you've added to the power decks, you're going to discard 3 power cards from that deck. So we've added 2 expansion cards. That's going to be a total of 6 power cards from the top of both decks. So we're going to try that option, and we're going to go from there. So we're going to discard the first one from power deck A as a force field. The second one is time control. Third one is invulnerability. Fourth is flight. We've got another force field and another invulnerability. Now, that is going to make things a little bit tough because it means that since there are only 3 copies of each power in the respective deck, we now only have 1 invulnerability card and 1 force field card in power deck A. And then we also only have 2 of the other ones we just discarded. So this will be an interesting new dynamic. We're going to see how it works. I kind of like the idea.
I like the randomness of it.
Yeah, and it kind of forces people to play differently every time because they're not always going to get the same.
Exactly. You can't sort of compensate knowing that you're always getting rid of, let's say, Sonic Control or something like that.
Exactly. So we've got one of our expansion powers out right away. We've got Reality Warping here, as indicated by the RW on this card. So I'm going to replace it with this. It's not as flashy, but we're just going to have to go with it because it's early prototype for the expansion. So we've got Light Control at level 1, lets us exhaust a guard. And then if we want to use it on somebody else's turn, we can spend a Power Surge to do that as kind of a reaction. We have Reality Warping at level 1. If we exhaust it and spend a Power Surge, we draw the top card, the top obstacle from the obstacle deck. We put it into play or shuffle it back into the obstacle deck. And then if you put it into play, you may shuffle 1 obstacle in play into the obstacle deck. Basically, it lets you switch an obstacle that's in play for a new obstacle. But if the new obstacle that you get is worse, you don't have to put it into play. You can choose to put it back into the deck. So it kind of represents you altering reality and changing up the continuity a little bit. And then Weather Control works a little differently. Instead of level 1, level 2, if you buy this card, you get to choose between one of the options on it. So it gives you some versatility when you initially buy the power, but it's a little bit more limited once you do. Lightning lets you do area of effect damage to lots of targets, but is really expensive and difficult to balance or to juggle. Whereas the Fog ability lets you exhaust all the obstacles that are in play, which can be really cool, but is fairly limited because it only affects obstacles. So that's the idea there.
One of the things I like about Weather Control is there are actually more than just those that are listed. And so depending on which card you actually choose or is pulled out, you may actually have different options.
Yeah, the Weather Control and Elemental Control and Psionic Ability actually all work that way.
Yeah.
So it, depending on the specific copy of the power card you get, you'll have 2 different options here.
Yeah.
Which I agree, I think was a cool idea when we thought of it. So.
And it actually helps reduce the amount of text that you see on the card so that you can still enjoy the artwork that's there.
Yeah, that was actually one of the major considerations. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing for Power Deck B. So we're going to discard the top 6. We've got Transmutation.
Oh, I like that one.
Exceptional Training. Ooh.
Oh, one of the new ones.
We've got one of the new ones. This is a sorcery, so that's going to be rough.
And that's actually one of the cards that we need here as part of the victory condition, sorcery. So now that we've taken one of those out, we've increased the difficulty slightly.
So we've got a High Tech as the 4th card, another Exceptional Training as the 5th card, and an Elemental Control as the 6th card. So, yeah, we've got an elemental control and a sorcery, which are two of our victory cards that are now discarded, and two of our exceptional training cards. So that's going to be kind of rough if we want